Well, cheers to that. And I guess we should give a toast to, I was so bored waiting for things to actually work technologically, I killed the first two nurses. Doc, I'm hearing that they're not hearing you.
Shit, I forgot to take myself off mute. Good God. Okay.
Did they miss that entire beautiful opening? Then is that what this means?
They did. They did. Should I go back and do it?
Yeah, let's all do it. Let's do a do-over.
Okay. You guys didn't hear any of this. Now we're gonna go back and we're gonna pretend that this restarted, shall we? Should I go? Should I stay? Should I stay high British or go Cockney?
No, Cockney's gross.
Okay. Here we go. We're gonna Kitty. No, I'm doing a show, Kitty. Go away. Welcome to Doctor on Call with your host, Doc Griffin. The doctor will be with you momentarily. Our guest this evening is YouTube social commentator Sir Adamantine. Government warning. According to the Surgeon General, drinking distilled spirits, beer, coolers, wine, and any other alcoholic beverages during Doctor on Call may increase the risk of laughter and insight. Consumption of this talk show may also impair your ability to drive a car or operate heavy machinery. That said, everybody take a shot. Doc Griffin, paging Doc Griffin. You're needed in the OR. Stat! And thank you very much, Nurse Evil Twin. I think I will have that shot right now.
And speaking of impaired, I think we've had technical issues for so long now that both Doc and I are impaired.
I would like to be impaired. And I'm only 8 shots in now. But since my guest tonight is not only a social commentator for the YouTubes, he is also the financial consultant for the Insomnia Ramble stream, and, of course, an expert on the spirits. Let us please welcome and put your electronic hands together for Sir Adamantine.
Cheers, everyone.
And besides the almost hour-long clusterfuck, because here's the deal. A lot of people sent me DMs saying, Google Hangouts is messed up. It's horrible. And there's nothing we can do about it. We just keep messing up. We can't reload, blah, 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 this and that. And it's not Google Hangouts. I can't blame Google Hangouts. People always treat Google Hangouts like the redheaded stepchild. But it's actually, what happened was, it was YouTube's ability to stream. Because everything was working fine in Google Hangouts. Everything was working fine with OBS. But when it came to actually getting on the air, the preview to the live for YouTube just kept rendering error messages. And it also kept saying, because I kept trying it over and over again. I'm desperate to get on air because I really hate being late. I'm the kind of person who shows up like 10 to 15 minutes early for something. And it just kept telling me that it was unable to do it. And then it started giving me the more irritating message of, try back in a few minutes. You've attempted too many times. And I'm like, really? Really? Because there's somebody that I find incredibly interesting. I love talking to. I'll be honest with you. I think we have literally spent more time talking to each other off streams than on streams. And not in the adult rated chats that you run. I honestly do bow out for that. Because I think that's kind of an interpersonal thing.
Speaking of which, hi, Mr. LM in the chat.
He's a good kid. We might have him on here. But there's a lot of people out there that would be fun interviews. And I know we were talking about this off the air. But yeah, I've talked to a lot of people who are technically, I'm putting the quotation marks in the air, celebrities. But Doctor on Call, the whole gimmick is, I like to talk to interesting people that do interesting things. And I will say right up front that I think, Addy, you are definitely one of those people that I find incredibly interesting and would love to learn more about. And I think that I can't say followers, I can't say fans. Can I say audience? Would that work?
I was hoping you'd go with cult members, but I'll take what I can get.
Well, but you've already joined the Cult of the Pickle, though.
That's true. I am Father Addy.
And one of the things, of course, the people who have tuned in know that I want to find out where it happened, where it started, grassroots. So let's go ahead and start up. Where did you grow up?
I'm a corn-fed farm boy. Despite all the accusations of being a snooty, pretentious bastard. Before I shoveled shit on YouTube, I literally shoveled shit.
So would you say that you lived more of a rural lifestyle?
Well, I grew up on a farm, but that being said, I grew up on a farm that was within a short drive of a major, metro area. So it's not quite the same as living in the middle of nowhere.
But did you find yourself yearning to go more to the metropolis, or were you happy to be on the farm?
When I was growing up, all I wanted to do was live in the city. So then I moved to the city, and ever since, all I wanted to do is move back to a farm.
Well, provincial life is not a bad thing, technically. I think that's a genre that isn't explored enough. As a kid, if you're working on the farm, what age did you start off at?
Well, I mean, to be fair, the farm. My mom was a housewife. Mm-hmm. My father's primary income was never the farm, or at least never while I was alive. So that farm had become ever increasingly hobbified as time went on.
Well, were you more of agricultural or livestock?
Oh, we had cows and pigs and some chickens and some beautiful dogs, which weren't really product, but they were nice pets.
So, if you're talking about living on the farm, and I know there's a lot of people out there because, like the old Jethro Tull song goes, the farm became the freeway. What type of personal lesson did you live by working the farm style?
I'm not sure if I gained anything philosophically profound out of it, but I do like the peace and quiet of the country. And probably, unlike most children, when I was young, I really did do physical work.
Did it help to set a work ethic for you?
Well, no, because I'm pretty lazy. In my adult professional life, I've had a wonderful time of finding jobs that I can take naps at. So there is that.
So I am guessing, since you're talking about a rural childhood, that you had a mother and father.
I did.
And
I had a father I could never stand, and I had a mother that I loved, but they never did. They never got divorced.
so would you say the major influence on your sensibilities came from your mom?
Well, like I said, I love my mother and strongly dislike my father. But that being said, the major influence is my father, because my father was, and I've tried to explain this many times before, and it never comes off correctly. It's one of those things you had to experience him to be able to understand. My father was not. My father was never physically abusive. He was never sexually abusive. He financially provided for us quite nicely. He was just a dick, and he had a kind of manipulative, controlling personality that. And I'm one of 7 children, by the way.
Oh my!
Also the youngest by far.
Oh,
Like I have several siblings who are old enough that they could be my parents.
oh my!
But the way my father's personality is his children became one of 2 things basically. They knuckled under to him and became weak people, or they out assholed him. I decided to go the out asshole route, which I can't deny the fact that probably has more of a relative effect on who I am today than anything else.
Well, do you think that defiance was in his plan?
No, I think he was just a self-centered person who never should have been a father or probably a husband.
Wow.
Which I can claim to be guilty of the exact same thing. I am utterly self-centered, but guess what? I am not a husband, nor am I a father, and I have no interest in being either.
Well, I was going to say I had my fair share of living with a bad dad, but it still did have some influence, like you were saying. It's kind of like a signpost as to, okay, I know what this is, and I don't want to be this. But as a kid, because and I always bring this analogy up because in 2nd grade, our teachers would ask us, "Well, what do you want to be?" And most of the kids were like, "I want to be most of the male children were like, "I want to be a firefighter," or "I want to be a policeman." One of these days, I'll tell the story about what I came up with. But what did you come up with? What did you want to be?
What did I want to be when I was a kid?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I ever really wanted to be for any period of time was a lawyer, but which I got fairly well along the planning at one point in time. I mean, I took the LSAT test, which was the law school admission test and whatnot, but thank God I stopped when I did.
What was your LSAT score?
I don't remember, but it was good enough.
Yeah.
It was, by the way, a horrible test. My God, that thing is just.
I took it. That's the reason why I was asking.
There was never a time in my life where I felt like my entire future was being judged based upon 3 hours of my life.
I completely understand. So, as a kid, what were your actual ambitions? I mean, was there something that stood out? Because I'm thinking if you're one of 7 kids, it's one of those things, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's one of those things where you try to figure out where you can make yourself look special in the eyes of your parents, because I've found that a lot of people, especially from large families, try to figure out where they can stand out and get that special rub from the mother and the father.
That really didn't apply to me so much for two reasons.
Okay.
The first of all, like, I mentioned one of 7 kids, but the youngest, not only was I the youngest, but the one closest in age to me was 7 years older.
Oh my.
So in a lot of, and that it just went up dramatically from 7 years older when you're talking about the oldest ones. So in many ways, I was very close to. I mean, the way I lived was more like, me and the two closest to me in age. It wasn't. I wasn't. By the time I had memories, I think 3 of them had already become adults and moved out.
Did it feel more like you had babysitters rather than siblings?
I never felt any as a child. I never felt any close connection to any of them because they were all too old. When I got to be a teenager, I realized that the one that's closest in age to me, I refer to her as my good sister. Again, 7 years older, but really at this point, 7 years doesn't make a difference. We get along exceedingly well. The rest are just kind of blah to me to one degree or another.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of had the benefit because my sister and I were Irish twins. We were born 10 months apart. So I kind of had a partner in crime. How did you adapt?
I was always, and I'm still like this today, really. A lot of it's covered up if you hear me on stream because I'm drunk as a skunk most of the time, but in real life, I very much generally prefer to be alone. I can be, and I'll say this to people, like coworkers or sometimes even, casual friends, and they don't believe I'm antisocial because I can fake it so well, but yeah, I strongly prefer to be alone.
Well, I can see a tremendous amount of loneliness with a 7-year separation. How as a kid did you occupy your time?
When I was at home, I would love to do things like just take off with my dogs and like wander in the woods, things like that.
And I'm thinking since you're an urbanite now, that didn't inspire any future path, did it?
No, I don't know if that inspired anything. I think that was the easiest way for me to live out what I prefer, which is peace and quiet,
and
which I still like to this day.
That seems like something you quest for in your adult life.
Oh God, yeah. I wish I could escape this sardine can of gross humanity surrounding me.
And for those who have tuned in who are not familiar with Sir Adamantine, of course, down in the descriptors, we do have the link to his YouTube. We also have the link to his Twitter. So if you do want to get to know him better, those are down there for you. And I'm trying to shuffle time because we were so damn late. So my normal my normal plugs are kind of completely thrown off. So I appreciate anybody who's hanging around and putting up with the format that I'm still trying to push, being an hour late. So when you got to high school, how were your grades? By the way, let's go ahead and toast because I'm not keeping up with Addy. I'm just doing shots as appropriate.
Well, trying to keep up with me is ill-advised, to be quite honest. But that being said, cheers.
Well, alcohol killed me once, so I don't think it's going to kill me again.
Yeah, it's probably only going to kill me once, but it'll probably be more final when it does.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. A lot of people are like, well, smoking's going to kill you. Alcohol's going to kill you. Well, I would rather know the face of my killer when I go to the grave.
There, there are worse ways to go than alcoholism if you do it right.
So, when you were in school, how were your marks?
I was someone who got like A's and C's depending upon the class and how much I was into it. Because I'd never really tried, but there were certain classes that I was just naturally good at, and it was very easy to get an A. There were other ones where, and interestingly enough, considering the degree in accounting, I did not like math. Well, I guess to correct that, I loved math as long as it involved real numbers, preferably with dollar signs or percentages. But when it became triangles, you lost my interest entirely.
Was it more math loved you rather than you loved math?
How so?
It just seemed to come easier to you.
It just made sense when it had real life applicability. When it became things that are like this is becoming sciencey math.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I have no interest in this, and that's actually kind of a regret of mine. I wish I would have tried with those things. Not that they never have had a use in my life, but I think they may have been. Looking back at it from a more mature age now, they may have had an intellectual interest to me, but we're past that point. But things like history or civics or English, I can get A's in those without trying.
So and I can relate because I'm much better at physical math than I am at theoretical math. But you being in high school, did you ever think that would lead you to a career?
No, I never thought about accounting while I was in high school. My original and accounting is my degree, but my path to my degree went through like 4 different colleges and numerous years. And my original major was political science, which was just meant to be a meaningless, easy degree that would get me to law school.
Now, okay. Now you're talking about law school. So was it a Better Call Saul thing?
No, what I wanted to do actually was corporate law.
Okay.
Which
And
which ended up, I mean, because I had already transitioned to I'm getting an accounting degree while I was still planning on going to law school. They would have been incredibly complimentary, and they would have been probably incredibly well paying. But well, I mean, not to be morbid, but then that father that I didn't care for so much died, and there are lots of ways I can insult my father, but financially is not one, because he made me not need to worry about it.
no, I can understand that.
And I don't mean that. I don't mean that from the sense of, oh, I don't need to work anymore. But it did mean I can pretty much just kind of, whatever. And then I accidentally chanced into a pretty well-paying career anyway.
Well, and with your current age right now, I still think you were around the time when it's like you work hard, you do your job to the best of the ability that you have, and you can make money not just to survive but to thrive.
Well, I mean, I make better than average money, but I make as much as I need. I'm not. My self-esteem is not based upon my career.
So fiscal responsibility is not necessarily the life goal.
I waste a lot of money, but then again, I make a fair amount of money too. So I clear a profit, and I'm not worried about retirement.
Gotcha. Now, um, I don't know how to broach this in any easy way, but when was your first inkling that that you were gay?
Well, gay or would fuck a guy, because I think they're two different things.
Okay, please flesh out both.
I'm still accused of being straight, and I guess technically speaking, I would be bi. I just made a decision of which is better for me. But no, there were guys that fucked around with in high school, so this goes back.
But was this a thing? I mean, because honestly, I've talked to several people on both sides, and some of them basically plead the case of cluelessness. Um, as far as I didn't know until I got to this point. Um, was there ever what was your touchstone?
I'm sort of just randomly laugh like a madman, but I'm great just to say something probably profoundly true in the chat. Liz Hurley. Though, I think we all know what that means.
Well, you can, yeah, you can definitely appreciate, but was there a was there a turning point? Was there a fulcrum?
If you're talking about the point where I reached the point where I simply said I would much rather be with men than women.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you all a story. I think I've told two people online, and neither of them are even here, so this should all be a thing for you. I believe there's been one time in my life where I've been in love, and that was and is my best friend, and has been for a very long time. And that would be a he, not a she. And we lived together, and it was largely, I mean, it wasn't that lovey-dovey shit, because I don't want that with anyone. That's just gross to me. But as far as functionally goes, it was very much in many ways like a marriage.
How so?
I mean, one of us would come home, and like literally, there would be times. There were several times where one of us would come home from work where the other one was home, and they'd walk in the door, and like he'd hand me a drink and have made dinner.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not talking like, I'm not talking like, lit candles and like rose petals, but I'm talking about, the kind of way that a well-adjusted marriage operates, say, after 10 years.
Basically cohabitation.
Yeah, but it was more than just it was, well, including the sex. It was more than just roommates.
Well, I can understand that.
He's not married. His wife is probably a better friend to me than he is, and I am the godfather of his two children. It's a strange world sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to deep dive to that, but so it's something that you felt comfortable with, something that was natural.
At the time it was, yeah. I mean, there were times after I knew that was ultimately an illusion that was unpleasant, but not unpleasant like in terms of us getting along, but when you get that phone call that, I'm engaged, that's not entirely pleasant, even though you knew it was coming and you knew things were long since over. But or maybe not, because I guess most people don't experience this kind of thing.
Well, and there's I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of people who have quite a bit of confusion. And they just recently celebrated the 50th anniversary of Stonewall. Um, for those who don't know, that was a huge marker for gay rights. Um, is that something that you felt that you need to involve yourself with, or is it more of a thought that you know what, I am living my life and I'm doing it the way that I want to, and I don't think necessarily being so um, so protestorial. Excuse me.
Oh, I do what I do because I want to, and I'm not a part of any community. And as far as like the whole like Pride Month or LGBT whatever shit goes,
Mm-hmm.
all of that quite honestly just makes me want to vomit.
So, you do have some difficulties with the representation that's pushed out to the media, then.
Well, it doesn't even matter what you're representing. If you want to throw me into a group, I don't want to be a part of that group at all. Period. Unless that group is a very small, very close circle of friends.
Mm-hmm.
No one speaks for me on anything. Don't tell me that I, as a white person, think this. Don't tell me that I, as a gay guy, think this. No, I don't belong to your club. I am what I am individually.
Well, I just watched a Fleckus Talks. I don't know if you know him or not.
Mm-mm.
Fleckus Talks is a guy who goes out and does the uh, on the streets interviews, and he went to the most recent, a couple of days ago, the Pride Parade, and he was sitting there talking to, and I can actually send you the picture if you really want to see it. It was two guys, one dressed in leather bondage gear,
Oh, God.
and another guy dressed in a thong with that leather Nazi hat, but he was so hairy, he had sparkles all over his hair, and
Yeah, gross, just gross.
they asked, Fleckus asked, he said, "Well, hey, what is this parade all about?" And he's like, "Oh, it's about acceptance, it's about love, it's about basically treating your fellow man with respect." And Fleckus came back with, "Well, what do you think about Donald Trump?" And they're like, "Fuck Trump." I mean,
Well, and I would say as a contra point to that, I don't need a stranger's love or respect. They can go fuck themselves if they don't like me.
well, and to me, that's the amazing thing, because they just said it's all about love, it's all about acceptance, and they were straight up like, we hate Donald Trump. Okay, I get it, but I
I, will-
don't get it.
I will say for these people, it's kind of ironic that by far and away the most pro-gay president ever is the one that they choose to demonize. But then again, you're never going to lose money betting on the stupidity of humanity, are you?
Yeah, it's hard to deal with the orange man bad thing. Um, just because he was, and not to be political, but he was the first one that came out and supported the LGBT on platform, and I know he put up the thing where it's talking about he wants to end, um he wants to, I don't know how to explain this, but across the world, he wants to basically get rid of homophobia. Now, honestly, it's never going to happen because
If I recall correctly, I think he wanted to make it so that it wasn't illegal in any country.
correct, yes, and you know what, the United States is definitely the flag bearer globally, but there's no way that's actually ever going to happen. And I'm, there's things that I don't know if Donald Trump is doing them because it's a good statement or because he believes that that's going to happen. But at least he's the first president who's ever come out and said these things. That's what amazes me.
Yeah, but people are sheep, so they're not even going to be able to see that. So it doesn't matter.
So when you get into your adult life, basically you've graduated out of school. What's your thought about proceeding forward? What do you have as far as, I hate to do this, but your 5-year plan?
You give me too much credit. I will give myself credit because during most of my 20s, I worked 2 jobs and periodically went to school. Yet at the same time, I managed to drink so much that my entire 20s are a blur.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. I have been in that position myself. But did that make you less productive?
The drinking? No, I can honestly say I don't really think alcohol, even as excessive as some days I've had, it's never really affected my work, even when I've been drunk at work.
And does that curb your socialization?
Alcohol?
Mm-hmm.
No, alcohol is the only reason I have any socialization.
Well, I mean socialization IRL.
No, if the day comes where I actually take my doctor's advice and stop drinking, I will never talk to anyone unless I absolutely have to. Because sober, people do nothing for me except disgust me. And I've explained this. That best friend I was talking about before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we still get along every bit as good as we ever did. He lives approximately 5 miles away from me, and I see him probably on average twice a year. And way back when I had to explain this, and it's like, it's not that I like you, or I'm sorry, it's not that I don't like you or like you less than I used to when we were, like roommates and whatnot. If I go out and do shit with you, I enjoy it. But there's one thing I enjoy more than going out and doing shit with you, and that's me being home alone. And that kind of is probably the only reason I still hang around YouTube, as much as it frequently disgusts me and I often want to get away from it, is the knowledge that anytime I get sick of it, I can simply end the stream and go to bed, or end the stream and go do whatever.
I was going to say, do you find more comfort in the socialization IRL or on the interwebs?
Well, like I said, the one advantage to the online thing is it's much less awkward to walk away if I develop the desire to.
So you find more comfort in the interwebs
For its lack of personalization, yes.
And I do want to make sure online, and I've talked to you behind the scenes as well. A lot of people believe that when you're on the internet, you need to crank yourself up to 11 or 12. I've not necessarily found that in your case. Do you think that it has to be an exaggerated personality to be on the interwebs?
No, there are only 2 things that are different about me, online versus real life. One is I will accentuate the gay because it's moderate. I like to think that the way I do it is at least moderately entertaining for the most part. And the other thing is, I think all the things I say I really think. It's just in real life, I very frequently don't bother to say it. I will simply just give someone a dirty look instead of insulting them.
Well, and here's the thing that I find interesting about you, the reason why we keep having conversations is the fact that I never think of you gay first. I always, and a lot of people basically called you Eurodite. And you're one of the first people that I've ever talked to and used that type of adjective to where you had a laugh about it. And
well, that goes back to the childhood of literally shoving shit. I'm not someone who went to Oxford. I mean, if I happen to like to read books and got a decent vocabulary and a decent education, I mean, that's just kind of by the by. I'm not trying to impress anyone with my snooty behavior. It's simply the way I talk.
I was going to say, because there's a lot of people who are like, oh, you think you're upper class and blah, blah, blah. And I never got that read from you.
Well, my God, my God, one of our favorite conversations to have between you and I is spam. I mean,
yes. And I had some last night, so life is good.
And by the way, the jalapeno spam, not bad.
I kind of like it. Although I think the only one that I haven't liked is the chorizo, because I really honestly don't think they got the idea of what chorizo is supposed to be, because it's supposed to be the shittiest meat, but you spice it up enough. You spice it up enough to where you don't care.
I've never had that version of spam, but chorizo in general, I don't care for.
Well, the bacon flavored spam to me is probably the best, because bacon's good with anything.
As much as I love spam, at that point you can just skip the spam and go for the bacon.
Well, you know, it is affordable. Let's just say that. Since we're at the bottom of the hour, we're going to take your questions. Anything you have for Sir Adamantine at the top of the hour. And please make sure, go ahead, load those in the chat. We will ask them as they are presented. If you're not familiar with my guest, then please go down and check out his YouTube, which you only have I think you only have 2 videos.
I have 0 videos if I did it right.
No, I think you still have 2.
God damn it.
And
they're all supposed to be private after the fact.
Also, his Twitter is there, and he has some very interesting conversations with other people. Of course, down there, of course, is my stuff, my Twitter, my Streamlabs, my Patreon, the TeePublic store, all that stuff. And of course, I do have recommendations. My prescriptions for additional entertainment. Doctor's orders is the people that I like. The people that have low sub counts but put out some great product. And I hope after this is done, you will take the time and click on them and see what I'm talking about. Now, if you don't agree with it, your money back. But then again, you didn't pay anything. So, there's your freebies.
I have to say, Doc, in terms of questions from the chat, I've been reading the chat. These are all of my favorite people in the chat. This is fantastic.
There's some good people out there, and I'm hoping I'm going to use the F word since they're fans of yours. I'm hoping they will fill up the chat with the questions that they really want to know about.
And we do have 1 dislike, so I'm assuming Slick Willie stopped by too.
Oh yeah, Stenchiver always ninjas in and puts a dislike. But I tried to tell him on the IRS that even if you're putting in a dislike, that means you're interacting, and that still helps. White people be cray-cray. And honestly, I don't do the hellos like I normally do with the IRS, but I will thank everyone who is out there right now, and we'll encourage you. If you've got a question, please feel free and drop it in. Now, here's the thing: you've got your financial life going. You have your IRL firmly planted. What gives you the idea to go ahead and join the YouTubes? What was the first, let me ask this, what was the first actual channel that kind of drew you in?
As best I can recall, and the first one of these hurts to admit a little bit, I believe it all started with Milo.
Really?
If I recall correctly, I believe Milo led me to Sargon, and despite how messed up Sargon has become in the last year, I'm still inclined to agree with most of his political viewpoints, if not his personality.
Wait, Milo or Sargon?
Sargon.
Okay.
Milo's a freak show. I believe Sargon led me to Irate Bear, and I think who I still love. And I think that most everything else pretty much sprung off of Irate Bear.
That is interesting. I've listened to some of Irate Bear's stuff, and I'm about 50-50 on it, I'll be honest with you. So what was the hitch that made you want to say, okay, I want to stream?
Again, as best I can remember, there were a couple of people who I really grew to like Viper Sword stands out, and she's still my absolute favorite.
She's a sweetheart.
Where she would invite me on, so she was the first stream I ever went on, was one of hers. And then finally, I just decided, what the hell, I'll do it, and it was fun for a while. It's pretty much my own streams have pretty much stopped being fun, but randomly showing up on ones like yours, I still enjoy.
Well, now here's the interesting thing I find with your streams is that a lot of them are completely privated or unlisted or deleted. And
well, again, if I do it right, they all are. But you have to bear in mind, every one of my streams, I say at least one thing, if not dozens of things that should get my channel booted.
Well, and that's the thing, because there are so many, I can't think of another definition, but there are so many star fuckers out there. There are so many people that are so incredibly thirsty for attention. But if you're not there in the moment with your streams, then you're not there at all.
I want none of that. I mean, like I've always said, and that's why my main stream that I've ever done was called Drinks with Friends. All it is to me is meant to be the equivalent of going to the bar and getting drunk and bullshitting with people you like.
Well, and I have to say, a little bit of the IRS is stolen from that, because all I want to have is people showing up. They can have different points of view, but it's still, you're just around the bar. You're having drinks and you're sharing thoughts. And I'm not going to say that it's unoriginal, because most people are fishing for the drama. But
I love drama as long as I'm not involved.
But what do you say?
Unless you're talking about like a literal human insect, like the Prince of Queens, in which case I'll gladly take on that drama, because that's not much of a challenge.
But here's the thing that really sets it off for me is the fact that you're not looking for monetization. You're not looking to gain more fans. It seems that you're doing this just because you want to do this. And that flies in the face of everything that I guess YouTube would say is what you need to do to be a successful YouTuber. What do you tell YouTube?
No, I want none of that shit. I don't want fame. I don't want I'm not saying that if someone subs to me, then I'm offended. But I'm saying I don't want to fish for subs. I want someone who, I end up streaming with you on your stream like 3 or 4 times, and they're like, oh, I like him enough that I'm going to start following him and see his streams. I want my chat, just like this chat right now. I want my chat to be full of people that I know and like. I don't want 100 people that I've never heard of before. I give 2 fucks about that.
And I will say that when we do the IRS stuff, we could have somebody who shows up who has 100,000 subs, and we can have people who show up that don't have any. I really enjoy the fact that you're there kind of playing goalie. You don't overstate your purpose. You don't overstate your importance. And in your head, as far as ego goes, and I don't reference the word ego as a bad thing, how do you keep that in check?
my 270 sub count ego, you mean that one?
I don't know. I try not to look at the sub count, but
it doesn't matter, because as far as I'm concerned, if you've got 1 million subs and you think you're a celebrity, you're a self-deluded fool. You're not even making middle management money, and you're generally selling all your dignity at the same time, if you're like most of them.
By the way,
I mean, if you want, you don't mind if I use names, do you?
No.
If you're one of the Jeff Holidays or Boogies of the world, I think so little of you I wouldn't even bother spitting on you, but you actually think you're a star? You're a piece of garbage.
I'll be honest with you. When I think of internet, I think of somebody in a junior high school play. That's how popular that you are. That's how popular that you're ever going to get. And if you're there for the backpats, well, I hope you enjoy your 500 to 1,000 subs. But if you're actually doing something, if you're making a difference, then it is legitimately not about you. And by the way, Pickle just sent me a message. He was feeling sick.
Nurse Pickle is the first nurse I killed before the stream started. The second one was the hot one, Nurse Stalvin.
Yeah, and
I've lost a savior and a nurse whose ass I could grab all before the stream ever started.
And I'll be honest with you, Stalvin definitely, before his battery died, he did a solid. He was going to come in and do the nursey thing. Pickle's being sick, so that shit happens. No grudge, no problems. Is there a time, or I should say, is there a circle of people that you find yourself more comfortable around?
Are you talking about in real life or online?
Let's go with online, because IRL is a completely different thing.
Online is largely represented in your chat right now. And to the extent that it isn't, I mean, all you have to look at is who I stream with and who are on my streams, because except for the rare occasions where I'm actively attacking them on my stream, which rarely happens, all the people I like are the ones who I do stream with.
Well, and honestly, when I do IRS, it's completely open. Anybody who wants to come in, as long as they have a good take, can come in. But yeah, I've been on a few of the streams, and I kind of enjoy the things that you speak about. What motivates you to start a stream?
Generally, a combination of alcohol and boredom.
Speaking of which, let's do shot number for me 12.
I've had a half a liter since we started trying to start this. So
I'm not going to say that I'm keeping up with you, because there are 28 shots in a fifth, so I'm almost halfway through it. But what inspires you? What motivates you to actually do a stream, or is it?
No, literally what I just said. A combination of drunkenness and boredom.
But
if I don't feel like playing with my cat, if I don't feel like going out, if I don't feel like watching a movie, okay, what the hell?
But do you find,
especially if I feel like bitching about something?
Yeah.
Well, that's probably the key tip off to my starting a stream.
But do you find yourself trying to make a point as far as it goes with education to the people that are listening, or it's just like, you know what, I just want to gather my friends together and have some fun?
God, no, there's nothing I want to teach any of you. You figure life out on your own, or if you can't, I'm not the person to teach you.
Now, I know you've had some run-ins, some controversies.
Once or twice,
yeah.
You think?
So, is that and I'm saying this knowing that it's a loaded question. Are you bringing those in as something that you feel is an active controversy that needs to be addressed?
I just think, number one, they entertain me. And number two, well, I mean, let's use the most recent example, the bitch of Queens.
Okay.
I think there are certain people out there who get far too much latitude, even though they're talentless pieces of garbage who spew garbage and deserve to be mocked. And if I don't feel they're getting enough mockery, I'm perfectly happy to be the one to do it.
And
I will say this. Some of the favorite people I've met in my life are some online people, but almost without exception, the worst people I've met are people on YouTube. There is lots of human refuse here that they would all be better off in a wood chipper than living.
Well, I'll be honest with you. We will kind of get into that, but I know you've tried to spark controversy with some other YouTubers, and
it's no fun if you don't name names, Doc.
Okay. Yeah, I will say it right up front. I mean, I think you've had some reservations with the Tonka clan.
Oh, Tonka's prime candidate for a wood chipper. He's a piece of human garbage. I mean, he's not even worthy of living in a trailer park. That's how trashy he is. His greatest accomplishment in life is getting the dick from a occasionally passable trans I don't know thing.
I honestly have not seen the naked pictures, and I will say this right up front: I don't want to.
No, you don't want to, because let me tell you exactly what she looks like without a shirt on. She looks like a 12-year-old boy.
Yeah, but I have to say that up front because there are people who will send me this shit. I just don't want to know. But do you? I don't know how. I don't know how else to ask this. But do you find pleasure in stirring the controversy?
Well, I mean, number one, I don't like to keep my dislikes overly private because I have online because I have no reason to, and because I want to make it very clear to people that if I tell them I like them, here are lots of examples of why you don't have to worry about whether or not I'm lying. But another thing is a lot of these people have such unjustified egos for accomplishing nothing that to the extent that I can bring them down a peg or two, I thoroughly enjoy it.
Well, and as far as YouTube goes, even with them doing the Vox Apocalypse, all that silliness, where do you see your role?
In that?
Generally in YouTube.
I don't.
Because
I am a no one on YouTube, and I have no desire to be anything other than a no one on YouTube. So
well, because you will stir shit, and people.
Right, but
you
you have to
like.
bear in mind to say there's a limit to my influence is that doesn't even begin to encapsulate just how much anything I say doesn't matter. What to the 30 or 40 people it ever reaches?
Yeah, but how fulfilling do you find it to yourself?
Oh, I get a great deal of pleasure out of it. Although I would like to point out, Doc, it's probably not as memorable, but I spend probably just as much time complimenting the people I like as I do ripping into the people I hate.
Well, and that's the thing. Let me ask this. Why do you think YouTube has the vitality that it has?
It doesn't. It's a dead platform.
Really?
By design of Google, yeah. None of us will be here in 5 years because this will all be a direct TV of the internet. There won't be any of this left on YouTube.
Yeah, but where does it go?
And to a bunch of seemingly good sites that will fail, probably. I don't know.
And if you think that you need to make a point, is there a generalization or does it fall to specificity?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one, please?
Yeah, if you need to make a point, does it need to be generalized or is there specificity to it?
Yeah, my targets are pretty specific, I think.
Well, then I definitely have to ask. Now, we know Prince of Queens is a thing, but...
Yeah, he literally is a thing.
But is there something out there that bugs you, that irritates you, that you felt that you needed to make a response to?
With him specifically, or just a kind of personality trait in general for people, or how do you mean that question?
Generically to anyone. Is there someone out there you find to be so incredibly cancerous that you need to talk about?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them.
Well, let's go down the laundry list, shall we?
Well, let's see. Jeff Holliday's a dirty hippie. He has a revoltingly horse-faced wife who has all sorts of body hair, and even she won't sleep with him. So what does that say about him? Yet he's some sort of superstar.
Dude, I feel kind of sad about that because he's got a wife that just won't fuck him.
I think that family would be best served in a trash compactor.
Well, I feel sorry specifically for their little kid. Because
that's a fair point.
Because it's built on legitimately from everything that they have said as a foundation of lies.
Real great parenting when your kid is randomly playing with dildos because they're laying all throughout your house. That's top notch.
Well, when you make dildos your doorstops, IRL, there's problems.
And then there's and going back to that, some people who think I'm a snob. Allow me to be a snob for a second.
Okay.
Hi, I think I'm real.
Oh, God.
It's blatantly obvious to anyone who has even the remotest education that you pick up a thesaurus before your videos and pick out like 2 words you can insert to try to make yourself sound smart. You're not.
Can I just say, if he would just suck some dick and be comfortable with it, he would lead an infinitely better life.
Oh, did you? I really pissed him off once on Twitter. Speaking of that,
Okay.
I told him I sent out a tweet saying I'd fuck him, but you'd have to put a ball gag in him first, so I don't have to hear him talk.
Okay, understandable.
He didn't like that one very much.
And I mean, I've not had very many rubs, as far as people who want to talk. But is there somebody on the YouTube that you would want to sit down and try to have a conversation with?
That I don't have access to?
Correct.
I think that if it was like a completely like casual conversation, I think the things that PewDiePie could answer questions about would be fascinating, and I think that iDubbbz is probably an extremely intelligent person.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I still enjoy iDubbbz content, even though it's few and far between. I like what he does.
That being said, though, if I had a list of like people I could have a dinner with and just talk to, there are no YouTubers who'd make the list.
Well, if there were people that you butted heads against or had differences with, who would be your top 3?
My top 3 enemies to talk to, like, here, let's have a truce and a secret dinner and like chat,
or that you have not had a discussion with.
I'm still a little confused about the question.
People that you would like to talk to, that you've had personal issues with, that you have never spoken with. Who would you like to open up the channels of conversation with?
In the world of YouTube?
Yes.
None of them. I would like to have a chance of I don't know, mundane fat tied to a chair so I could just insult him without him running away for 20 minutes. But I don't really want to hear anything back.
Yeah.
If I reach the point of not liking them, as far as I'm concerned, at least, there's a reason.
So no deep diving?
I don't consider any of the people I don't like on YouTube to be redeemable to me.
Okay. And we're coming up to the top of the hour, so if you have any questions for Sir Adamantine, please do make sure put them in the chat. We'll ask them as they come. But, of course, down in the descriptor, there is Addy's links. My links are there, too. If you like what I do, there's the Twitter and the Streamlabs. You can hang out with it, but the most important thing is the prescription for additional entertainment. These are people that I like. These are the people that I watch. These are people that I follow. And hopefully you will enjoy them too. It only takes 20 seconds to do a like, a sub, and a ringing of the bell. And please feel free and do that if you like what they do. Because there are a lot of great content providers out there. And it's a shame that they're not known. And with that plug put into place, give me the top 3 that you enjoy listening to.
YouTubers?
Yeah.
Well, to admit a dirty secret, I don't watch much YouTube anymore.
That's understandable.
From a humorous standpoint, there's someone called Jarbo the Hutt. All he does, not to be confused with Mundane Fat. Jarbo the Hutt literally takes sound clippings of Mundane Matt's voice and makes them into the most hilarious parodies. It's fantastic. It's art, and it must be a pain in the ass to do. But that being said, the vast majority of what I watch on YouTube now are stupid things outside of our community, like top 10 lists of things that I find moderately. In fact, I think my favorite channel is called Top Tens with a Z, TNZ, where they'll just pick off like random facts and like give a top 10 countdown of it.
Is that the guy with the NyQuil voice?
It's a bald British guy.
Okay, because the one I'm thinking of is top 10's favorite things that people do in life.
No, it's not like that. No, he's got the good British accent. He's all right.
Okay.
I've also grown to some degree to like a few people who do creepypastas. Sinatra's channel creeps in being one of the best ones. He's got a great delivery for that. There are some others whose names I can't think of right now who do really well too.
I'll be honest. I have issues with Sinatra and the way he did things personally.
I have no knowledge of that, so I have no comment on that. All I can say is he does those really well, and I've never had an issue with him personally.
I'll be honest. I think he sucks at creepypastas.
Fair enough.
Because as a writer of creepypastas, he feels kind of clueless as far as how.
Well, he doesn't write them, at least just so far as I know. He uses others because I always hear him give credit to who the author was, but
well,
I think he reads them well. Is what I'm saying. He's a good narrator.
Yeah, he's decent. But then again, I've been in the genre for like 3 years. In my IRL, throwing out stories that people do, and I have problems with the main thing that he does, which is watching Tucker Carlson and doing reactions to that. I have problems with people who do reactions to other things because I don't honestly think that it's content. I think that it's just people who don't have anything else to offer. And I'll just say that. But as far as it goes, if you go on a YouTube search, there's not going with the recommendations. If you go on a YouTube search, what do you like to look up?
Not much anymore. I mean, I used to. To me, YouTube is a lot like Wikipedia was 5 years ago, where back then I could spend hours just reading an article and like, oh, there's something in the article that's linked to a different one, and just go on for hours, and it would fascinate me. And then I ran out of things I wanted to read, and YouTube is much the same way. I mean, a lot of our community. Well, yeah, Uzi, yeah. I mean, honestly, my favorite thing to do online is porn, because really that is what the internet is here for. But even in our community, there are a lot of people that I know and like, but I really have no interest in watching their streams or their videos anymore, because I can predict it. It's the same as the last 100 they did.
Oh.
And that's and there's no one I'm slyly not mentioning. I mean, there are dozens of people that applies to.
Does that include Doctor on Call?
Well, for you, it always, for the interviews, whether it be you or I, right? That's always who's the guest.
Understandable. I tell you what, we're at the top of the hour. Let's go ahead and start with some of the chat questions. Zell Strike asks, why is Penoid such a bitch? Also, just talk about me so my ego can rest full.
Well, Penoid is not a bitch. I've actually grown to quite enjoy Penoid. And Zell, I don't know how I can sexually harass you any more than I already do. I mean, I've been as lewd gets. What more is there?
I understand that. And I'm trying to scroll down to keep up. And that's a little bit difficult for me. I mean, I've only had a dozen shots, but I'm still...
Public service announcement. This is why you don't try to keep up with me.
Well, I don't know, It's like the Olympics. If I trained, then maybe there might be a different result. But I enjoy my liquor at a smooth flow. And it just all depends on how the shot is filled before me.
I, on the other hand, enjoy my liquor as a solid, steady flow.
I'm trying to figure out. Okay, Tim Wheeler's asking, would you ever think about doing something else? And that's kind of a weird question because really, YouTube for you is not your main meal. It's basically an appetizer to your life. Would you disagree?
If even that, really. I mean, literally, I've become bored with the concept. It really is pretty much just a relatively small group of people that even keeps me here at this point.
Well, and let me ask, because I think this is an interesting question. You have 4 guests that you need to be on your Drinking with Friends stream, which is no longer Drinking with Friends. I understand that. Who are the 4 people that you call on?
Well, that depends entirely on what I'm aiming for in that stream. Are we talking about cheap entertainment? Are we talking about like high intellect? What are we, what's the goal?
Let's do half and half. Let's go with those that you want to have a deep dive discussion, and those just want to have fun with.
I can't do half and half because then if I call out 4 people and 2 are the intellectuals, that means I'm by default calling the other 2 people morons.
Okay, well, let's go half and half at this point. Your intellectual pull as far as your entertainment pull.
I'm just going to randomly list off some people. How about that?
Let's do it.
Always I rate Prostate, of course, because there's no one I've streamed with more.
And?
Penoid. I find Penoid very, very entertaining, and I find him surprisingly to be one of the most intellectual people I stream with.
It's funny. Penoid pisses off Kadant a lot. And when we run IRS, it's like Kadant will DM me like I'm getting ready to go off on him. And I'm like, you go, girl. This is part your show too.
Oh, but you see that when that happens though, and perhaps even more than when Kadant does it, sometimes where I've heard Atema do it, that is high entertainment when
Oh God,
either of them go off on Pinoy. That is just good humor.
I love Atema too. I think she's amazing, especially when she did the debate with him and Turd Flinging Monkey. Just amazing stuff.
I don't know. As far as who I stream with, I tend to like people that can carry the stream, because even if it's my stream, I don't really want to.
Well,
it's like one of my favorite things to do, which finally after a few months break restarted on Sunday, was streaming with Red Pill Shark.
He's decent,
and
I like him.
What's that? I like him on a personal level a lot. I mean, he's just a really good guy. And a lot of people probably think that when I say this because, he'll get a lot of people watching because he's got a lot of subs, but that's not it. I just like actually being kind of serious because we talk about politics on his stream. But the other nice thing that I really love is, it's his stream, he's running it. And then he's got a different co-host along with me, Loyal Logic, who tends to be a talker. So I'm kind of like, if you equate this to a baseball game, I'm just the third color commentator, which I like. It's like every 5 minutes I can spout off like a funny line, and that's all I have to do. I like that. I don't want to be the.
Well, I completely understand that.
I'm not talent-wise inclined, and I'm not particularly interested in being the star of any show.
No, and I completely get that.
But I will say, it's to my own horn on one thing. I can come up with some good one-liners every now and then.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you're hosting the stream, you can carry the stream if you want to, but if you're going to be more organic about it, you let your people talk. And I was going to mention Miles.
But Miles is also, I mean, in the right time, in the right place, he's someone who can also carry a stream for me.
Miles, to me, is hilarious.
He is.
And it's one of those things where when I tune into one of your streams, I'm not thinking there's going to be a shit ton of socio-political ideas shared. It's just people having fun talking to each other.
Which is what it's meant to be. My stream is not meant to be serious.
And I know there are a few things that you definitively don't want to talk about.
Yeah, but all you bastards, and I'm saying that because half of you are in the chat right now, insist on bringing up the goddamn video games and anime and technology to like a nerdish degree. Just shut up.
Well, but how do you handle that with E3 so prominent?
I don't. I've heard that a lot. I don't know what it is, and I don't want to.
E3 is boring. It's like masturbation without the finish.
Like so much of YouTube.
Yeah. I have a question. How did you first hear about me? Says Zell Strike. Also, is the date still on?
I met Zell. Well, all right. I have to give some sort of appreciation to the dead flying squirrel. That would be
Sarah.
Sarah.
Yeah.
Because of the shit she tried to pull that somehow ended up on one of my streams. That allowed me to meet Trippy and Pickle. And off of that, I met Cadunt and Zell and Loki and Gaming and a whole bunch of other people. So, she did do at least one good thing in her life accidentally.
By the way, I curse you for that because somebody actually sent me the titty pics. Holy God.
I have thankfully never seen that, and please don't send it to me.
No. One thing that I'm known for is secrets die with me. And I don't want to spread around those veiny milk sacks. I'm sorry.
That same stream, by the way, where I met all of those that led to Zell, that would be the same stream where Sarah explained to me how she was going to fuck me straight. which by the way, talk about the opposite effect that would have. Good God.
But if it was Scarlett Johansson, what would your thoughts be?
Oh, I wouldn't need any convincing for that.
See, I think that's one thing that people don't understand about sexuality is that, yes, you can be gay, you can be straight, but there are people who are like, I'd do them.
Oh yeah, there are plenty of women I would happily do. And if you're talking about my prime example, which is a 10 years younger Elizabeth Hurley, fuck God, literally, like, fuck off, guys. I'd be perfectly content with that one.
Dude, if Chris Hemsworth dropped to his knees and spread his cheeks, I'm not gonna say no.
Well, I'm not gonna say no to Thor either.
That's the thing. It's just like, oh, well, that's wrong, or you know what? The ambiguousness of sexuality is not a bad thing.
No, I knew Uzi called it right for the old ones, Audrey Hepburn and Lauren Bacall. Audrey Hepburn was she was just that pretty tiny look about her, and Lauren Bacall, that's what I would refer to as a good bitch.
See, my problem with Audrey Hepburn, it all goes back to breakfast at Tiffany's, because I'm a writer and she was a shit person. She was a total asshole.
Her character?
Yeah.
All I know is the few things I ever saw her in, and like all the pictures I've seen of her, she always seemed to be incredibly graceful, which is a hotness unto itself for a woman.
Dude, when she was in her 80s, she was graceful. She's just kind of an amazing person. I mean, when you look at her IRL, but still, everybody's like, oh, well, this is one of the greatest movies ever, Breakfast at Tiffany's. And I was like, she's a total cunt in this movie. She's a horrible, horrible person. She deserves no redemption arc. And I do have to apologize because wifey brought me tacos. She's like, you're getting drunk. Eat some tacos. Tim Wheeler asks, would you ever wait a minute. Okay. Would you ever think about doing something else? And can I just preface this? You already are doing something else. This is just a hobby.
If you're talking about YouTube, well, I'll rephrase it to I think the best possible answer, which is if I tried. If I was going to try, I would probably set up some fancy little little OBS thing like all the rest of you do these days, all the cool kids do. And I would probably take video clips and probably even more specifically tweets of people I don't like and just rip them to shreds with a more, I wouldn't say a script, but little notes beforehand. So it wouldn't be the, every 5 minutes he says something moderately funny. It would be a little bit more, hopefully consistent. But again, that implies a lot of ambition that I don't really think I have.
Alex Martin, Gulf City Baywatch, keeps saying, Raquel Welch, motherfuckers. Uh, I think Raquel Welch was hot in her time, but as far as being a serious actress or making any difference, she was incredibly vapid.
Yeah, I was going to say that to me is just going based on looks. If you're talking about an Audrey Hepburn or a Lauren Bacall, in incredibly different ways, there was beyond the looks, there was substance that made them hot. Which I would, and it might be a little bit of a stretch, but I would say the same applies to Elizabeth Hurley.
Um, I don't know. I liked her in what was it, Bedazzled? Where
Well, she's got four things going for her. Number one, she used to be the top supermodel in the world, and she's aged well. Number two, she drinks. Number three, she smokes, and number four, she's got like the perfect accent. So I mean, that's a pretty close to a complete package right there.
I just have difficulty believing that anybody would fuck Brendan Fraser.
Well, now we're then.
Um, Let me try to see if I can catch up here. Uzi Q was asking if you would go into a little bit more detail about Audrey Hepburn or Lauren Bacall.
Well, like I said about the Audrey Hepburn thing, she was incredibly graceful and I want to say dainty, but I think that gives the wrong impression because I don't like that. I don't like the whole damsel in distress kind of personality. But we'll go with graceful. Lauren Bacall, like I said, good bitch, as in not like a shrill bitch, but just a woman. I think I get the impression a woman you wouldn't want to fuck with because she could fuck with you right back. But at the same time, if you've heard interviews of her talking about Humphrey Bogart, she was obviously at the same time an incredibly dedicated and loving wife. So it's that combination of, at least as I view it, tough as nails, but incredibly loyal to the people that matter to her.
And let's ask this. Adamantine is short for unbreakable.
And lustrous like a diamond.
And just being a rock hound like I am, it's defined with brown corborundum as very, very lustrous. How did you get to the decision to name yourself that?
I actually remember picking the name because when I started this, I mean, I had previous accounts. When I created this one, I realized I was probably going to be on streams with this one. So I put some thought to the name, which lasted not even 10 minutes. But everyone thinks it's adamantium, like, Wolverine's claws. It has nothing to do with that. The reason why the name popped into my head and the reason I liked it is because of the ungiving nature of what the word means. Because I'm a firm believer in life that when someone's a dick to you, a lot of people are a dick to you because they know they can use it to manipulate you and make you back down. I'm not like that. It just makes me be more of a dick if you're a dick to me. So I thought the name was kind of appropriate in a subtle way, as opposed to Sir Dick, which would have been a lot more obvious and a lot less creative.
Well, and the whole thing about adamantium, it's rare because most corborundum shows up as blue or red like a ruby. And that's what kind of piqued my interest in the fact that did you come to it geologically, or it was just something you did a little bit of research on and saw
No,
the hole?
I think if I recall correctly, I think I came to it from the word adamant, as in, that asshole's adamant in his beliefs and he's not going to change them.
So, were you aware of the actual geological definition?
Well, just to make sure I was getting it correct, which I pretty much was, I looked it up before I chose it.
And how does that inspire you to move forward in your character?
It doesn't. And there is no character. Not really.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I told you, Doc, when you asked if you could interview me. It's like, well, you can, but I'm very boring.
Mr. LM is saying, Doc, you should have a favorite mineral question for those that you interview. I am enough of a rock hound to where if anything matches or is similar to it, I will ask it. Now, as far as it goes with YouTube trends, what do you see as the worst trend and the best trend?
I don't think there is a good trend. The worst trend is they're going to kill YouTube.
And who's public enemy number one?
Well, if it's not YouTube itself, right now it's that irritating little fag. And yes, I said that word very. That wasn't an accident, and that wasn't a slip. There's a difference between gay and fag.
And who would that be?
Whatever his name was, that the nobody in quotation marks journalist who started shit with Crowder.
Oh, Carlos Maza?
That one, yes.
I think he did a bad thing because all of his drum beating ended up getting I think Crowder ended up with an additional 40,000 subs.
Oh, I didn't say he was smart, but he's a little fuck is what he is.
Now, speaking as a gay man, how many problems do you have with people using that as signposting, signal boosting?
I think it's utterly disgusting. I think that legitimate anti-gayness is incredibly rare. Incredibly rare. I mean, there are people I've pissed off on YouTube that after I pissed them off, they'll be like, blah, 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 Sarad, and we can see that stupid fag. I don't even take that as an anti-gay thing. I take that as the same thing as if I don't like someone. Well, I mean, take for example, Terracin. If I don't like someone like her, I'll call her a water buffalo or a fat cow because it's easy. And if someone calls me a fag when they're fighting with me, I assume it's the same thing. It's not really some deep-seated hatred of gay people. It's an easy insult.
I was going to say the lack of being able to insult.
Yeah, well, I didn't say it was an effective insult, but I don't take that as any kind of generalized hate. I take that as specific, dislike of me at the moment, which is fine. Like I said, it's exactly what I would do.
Well, I don't know. I've never actually seen you take the short road as far as insulting people.
Me? Oh my God, I'll cheap shot anyone. I have no pride as far as that goes. I may try to make it clever if I have the ambition, but I, I don't take the high road on things like that. I'm perfectly happy to go in the gutter.
But when you're on the when you're on the YouTubes, what draws your ire the most?
People who think they're important when they're not.
Example?
Well, I mean, plenty of the ones we mentioned before, like a Jeff Holiday, or that whole, all of the equivalents who they think that by virtue of 100,000 subs they've accomplished something real in life. I mean, statistically, you may have accomplished something only statistically in terms of YouTube, but in life, you haven't accomplished jack shit.
So, is there anybody out there that you would like to be able to not so much change their mind, but kind of straighten them up so they're able to use their platform in a more beneficial way?
No, because I think that if someone's going to YouTube to be improved, you're a sucker and you deserve the kind of trash that you get. YouTube is good for cheap entertainment only, and that's it. Unless you're I don't know, watching history videos, which you can't do anymore because YouTube took them all down.
So, are there anyone that you would like to suggest for the audience to?
My God, I'm killing him. I'm killing Doc.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to get my cough here.
Don't die, Doc.
There we go. Are there any channels that you would like to suggest?
No, I mean, you all know each other, so there's no point in I don't know, being a fluffer for any of you.
Well,
so
who do you like listening to?
My advice would be turn off the computer and go for a walk.
Well, but if that's not available,
well, is porn an option?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Well, everyone head over to the porn site.
I'm a fan of Pornhub. That's why I have my own channel.
I mean, I simply don't think YouTube makes the world a better place, and I don't think it's meant to.
Really? Why so?
And it may, you know, at its best, it makes the world a more entertaining place. But I mean, that's like saying TV makes the world a better place. It doesn't. It's trash. YouTube is trash.
So you're saying that YouTube is more...
It's entertainment that can pass time, but it's not going to make you a better person. Read a goddamn book.
So you're saying that YouTube is more just mental masturbation?
At its best, yes.
I think there can be some good things on YouTube. I just think that when you get a recommendation bar, it really doesn't help you to be more explorative.
True, but it does lead you to. It does lead most people to things that they enjoy or are more likely to enjoy, I guess.
Alex Martin said, "Adamantine, I just noticed how much you sound like George Lucas." No.
Oh, no. I don't claim to have any talent, but I probably have a bit more than that.
Yeah, because George Lucas is more like
When I thought about Star Wars, I thought it could be a broadly expansive universe, and I wouldn't need to hire people to tell me what I knew about my own shit.
Well, and I would just say puke. Now, don't get me wrong. I spent my entire childhood watching Star Wars movies, and in a certain way, I love them. That being said, the only thing he created of any worth was Darth Vader. And if it's not Darth Vader, every Star Wars movie sucks.
See,
and that's it. That's the only good thing about Star Wars, period.
See, in the director's commentary for the movie Used Cars back in 1980, Robert Zemeckis said, you know what? The one thing that really matters is that people will like you if you're good at your job. That's why people like Darth Vader.
I do have to say, though, Darth Vader is one of my favorite villains of all time. Because I don't view Darth Vader as a villain. I view him as an anti-hero.
I can agree. He's doing what he needs to do.
And there really is no better character in general than the anti-hero. Because heroes are a bunch of pukes. Like Luke Skywalker, God. I couldn't watch him with a bunch of liquor in me because I would just throw up all over the place.
Or Snake Plissken.
Who?
Snake Plissken?
I don't.
Escape from New York?
Yeah, never saw it.
He was one of the first where they said, this is an anti-hero.
Yeah, missed that one entirely.
Okay, well, go back and watch the show and we'll have a discussion later.
I do like the bad guys, though, because if they're written well, they are always the more interesting character, and they generally have the better point. One of my absolute favorites, Magneto. To me, Magneto in Marvel, in the X-Men, he's not the bad guy. He's the one who's got the right idea. It's the X-Men who are a bunch of suckers.
Well, as long as you write a villain who thinks they are not a villain, that they believe that they're doing what they need to do, that's what makes them more characteristically powerful, like Magneto or Doctor Doom.
Well, yeah, the other thing in life, how many real villains are there? How many? I mean, no matter how deluded someone is, how many people ever truly view themselves as the bad guy? I mean, by their actions, they could utterly and totally and completely be the bad guy. But in their mind, no one ever thinks of themselves as truly as the bad guy.
Well, yeah, it's a matter of perspective.
So when you write movies where the bad guy is just, oh, I'm a bad guy, like that's not realistic.
And my wife is making gestures at me. So
She's trying to cut you
yeah,
off.
I think she is. And yeah, we've gotten a couple hours into it. I do want to ask though, if there's anybody out there that you would like to push forward and to inspire, what would you say to them?
I would say I've developed two good pieces of advice in my lifetime. The first one, and if you're still here, you've heard this one a lot. People ruin everything because they really do. I'm not saying people are evil, stay away from them. I'm saying be careful about putting too much of your own happiness in someone else, because they will almost invariably let you down. And if you're not married to them, or if they're not your offspring, be really, really careful. And the second thing I'll say is the key to happiness: embrace indifference.
Okay.
Don't care about anything that you don't have to. The closer you can get to that, the closer you're getting to, Zen.
Or the old saying, there are only ever 2 rules in life. Never sweat the small stuff, and rule 2 is everything is small stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty much what I'm saying.
And with that, I would like to say that down in the descriptor is Addy's links, the YouTube, and the Twitter. My links are down there too, so if you like what we do, please feel free and show some support. Drop some ducats if you'd like. And of course, bear with me here just a second. To do the outro, I need to know who's coming up next. And next week, we have available, there we go, Steve Taylor, who is the voice of Court TV. And that's going to be interesting because we've already talked about, I've talked to many people about doing voiceover work. Most of them have been with animation. But this one's going to be a little bit different because this is a man who makes his bread and butter by being a total voiceover artist. And that includes, he's the voice of KTLA. And he is the voice of KROQ. Basically the biggest radio stations that are around. And he's going to be here. We're going to be, I think, drinking a little bit of bourbon and talking a little bit about life. But, of course, after that, we're going to be speaking with Disky Frigo to finish out the month. And, yeah, I mean, that's as far as I'm going to go. I don't want to talk about July yet, because July is pretty goddamn interesting. But I would like to thank Sir Adamantine for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. I think it was a great talk. Is there anything that you want to leave the people out with?
No, I really am empty on the inside. I've got nothing.
And so, for myself, I would like to thank everybody for coming out this evening, and we appreciate your questions. We appreciate your participation. So this is Doc Griffin saying thanks for stopping out this evening, and the doctor's office is now closed. Good night.